The wind howled across the red rocks of Cairo 7. Dust filled the air like smoke. Taehyun stood at the edge of the canyon and looked at the empty land around him. This planet was his prison now. He had been here for 8 months, alone. Every morning was the same. He woke up in his small metal shelter. He checked the sensors around the area. He counted his food supplies. He fixed broken equipment. Then he waited for the day to end. There was nothing else to do. Taehyun was 38 years old. He used to be a soldier, a good one. He fought for the Terran Defense Coalition for 15 years. He earned medals. Other soldiers respected him. Commanders trusted him. But that was before. Before the day everything changed, he remembered it clearly. Too clearly. His unit received orders to fire on a refugee ship. Command said there were enemies hiding on that ship. Taehyun looked at his screens. He saw families. He saw children. He saw scared people trying to escape a war zone. His commander shouted the order again. Fire. Destroy the ship. Taehyun refused. They called it treason. They called him a coward. They took away his rank, his honor, his life. The court-martial lasted 3 days. The judge said he failed his duty. They sent him here to this dead planet at the edge of space to spend the rest of his years alone. Taehyun touched the scar on his face. Plasma burned from his last real battle. He wondered if he made the right choice. Those families on the refugee ship lived. He knew that much. But was it worth losing everything? He pushed the thought away. It was too late for regrets. His sensor panel beeped. Movement detected in the southern canyon 15 kilometers away. That was strange. Nothing lived in that canyon. He checked the readings twice. The signal was strong, biological, multiple sources. Taehyun grabbed his equipment pack and started walking. It took him 4 hours to reach the canyon. His legs hurt. His back hurt. Age and old wounds made everything harder, but he kept moving. At least this was something different. The canyon was deep and narrow. Strange crystal formations grew from the walls, glowing with soft blue light. Taehyun had never seen anything like it. He climbed down carefully, following the sensor readings. At the bottom of the canyon he found them, 5 large eggs. No, not eggs. They were metal-like structures, each one taller than Taehyun. They hummed with energy. The crystals around them pulsed in rhythm with the humming. Beautiful, alien, dangerous. Taehyun scanned them with his equipment. His device showed readings he did not understand. The energy signatures were incredible. The biological signs were off every chart. What were these things? A crack appeared on the nearest structure. Taehyun stepped back, raising his weapon. The crack spread, breaking the shell into pieces. Light poured out. Something moved inside. A creature emerged. It was the size of a large dog, covered in scales that shimmered like oil on water. It had 4 legs, 2 wings, and a long tail. Its eyes glowed with intelligence. Multiple eyes, maybe 6 or 7, all looking at different directions at once. Taehyun knew what this was. He had seen pictures in classified military files. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them, but few ever saw them. A dragon, a baby dragon, but still a dragon. Dragons were legends. They were the oldest species in the galaxy. They controlled the best trade routes. They had technology that seemed like magic. They never bothered with other species much. They stayed separate, powerful, mysterious, and Taehyun just found 5 of their babies. The small dragon looked at him. It made a sound, something between a chirp and a growl. It seemed curious, not afraid. It took a step toward him. Taehyun lowered his weapon. This creature was just a baby. It was not a threat. Not yet anyway. Another shell cracked open. Then another. Soon all 5 dragons were free, looking around their new world with wonder. They stumbled on new legs. They tried to flap wings that were still too weak to fly. They bumped into each other and made small noises. One of them, the smallest, walked right up to Taehyun. It sniffed his boot. Then it sat down next to him like a dog waiting for attention. Taehyun did not know what to do. He should leave. Dragon parents were dangerous. They would come back for their young. If they found a human here, they might think he was a threat. They might kill him. He should walk away right now. But the small dragon looked up at him with those glowing eyes. It made a soft sound. It seemed lonely, lost, just like Taehyun. He reached down slowly and touched its head. The scales were warm and smooth. The dragon closed its eyes and leaned into his hand. Taehyun made a decision. A stupid decision, probably, but he was already exiled. already had nothing. What was one more risk? He would watch over them, just for a little while, just to make sure they were safe. Days passed. Taehyun visited the canyon every morning. He brought food, though the dragons did not seem to need it much. They ate the crystal formations, which apparently gave them energy. But they liked the dried meat he brought. They fought over it like puppies. He started naming them. The smallest one, who always stayed near him, he called Ember Glow. The largest and most aggressive he called Stormcaller. There was a quiet one who liked to hide, Silent Wing. One had scales harder than the other's, Stoneheart. The curious one who explored everything he called Bright Eye. The dragons grew fast. Each day they were bigger, stronger. They learned to fly short distances. They learned to hunt the small creatures that lived in the rocks. They learned to recognize Taehyun's footsteps and would run to greet him. Something strange happened. Taehyun felt connected to them. Sometimes he knew what they wanted before they showed him. Sometimes he felt their emotions, their excitement when they caught prey, their fear when thunder rolled across the sky. Dayun arrived with supply drop after 3 weeks. She was a cargo pilot who brought supplies to Cairo 7 every month. She was one of the few people who still talked to Taehyun like he was human. She noticed something different about him right away. "You look better," she said. "Less dead inside." Taehyun smiled. It felt strange. He had not smiled in months. "Just finding new ways to pass the time," he said. She looked at him carefully. "Be careful out here. Some people heard rumors about this planet. Might get visitors." "What kind of visitors?" "The bad kind." After she left, Taehyun checked his sensor network. Dayun was right. He detected encrypted signals at the edge of the star system. Someone was watching. Someone was coming. He knew what they wanted. Dragon babies were valuable. Their body parts were worth fortunes on the black market. People would kill for that kind of prize. Taehyun went to the canyon that night. The 5 dragons were sleeping in a pile, keeping each other warm. Ember Glow woke up when he arrived and came over to him. He knelt down and looked at the small dragon. "We might have trouble coming," he said quietly. "Bad people. Dangerous people." The dragon tilted its head, listening. Taehyun felt warmth from it. Trust. Ember Glow trusted him completely. He could run. He could activate his emergency beacon and call for help. But that would mean government ships, questions, maybe prison. They would take the dragons away. Lock them up, study them, or he could stay. Fight. Protect these creatures who trusted him. Taehyun thought about the refugee ship, about the choice he made that cost him everything. He refused to kill innocent people then. Could he walk away from innocent creatures now? No, he could not. He stood up and looked at the canyon walls. This place could be defended. He was a soldier once. He remembered how to fight, how to win against bigger forces. Ember Glow made a questioning sound. Taehyun touched the dragon's head. "Do not worry," he said. "I will keep you safe, all of you. I promise." The dragon seemed to understand. It pressed against his leg, warm and trusting. For the first time since his exile, Taehyun felt like he had a purpose. Something worth protecting, something worth fighting for, even if it cost him his life. Taehyun worked through the night. He carried equipment from his shelter to the canyon. Explosives, sensors, weapons, everything he had saved from his soldier days. His body ached, but he did not stop. The dragons watched him with curiosity. They did not understand what he was doing, but they felt his urgency. Stormcaller, the largest one, started moving rocks with its growing strength. Silent Wing found good hiding spots in the canyon walls. They were helping without being asked. By morning, Taehyun had set up a basic defense network. Motion sensors at the canyon entrance, explosive charges hidden in the rocks. 3 fallback positions where he could make a stand. It was not much, but it was something. He sat down, breathing hard. Too old for this, too tired. His hands shook from exhaustion. Ember Glow came over and pressed its warm body against him. The small dragon made a soft, comforting sound. "Thank you," Taehyun whispered. He felt the dragon's concern through their strange connection. It knew he was afraid. The ships arrived 3 days later. Taehyun's sensors detected them dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 3 combat ships, big ones, professional hunters. His communication system came alive with a message. A man's voice, calm and confident. Tae-hyun, we know you are there. We know what you have. We are not here to hurt you. We just want the dragons. Tae-hyun recognized the voice. Baek Yoon-ho, former military captain, now a mercenary leader. They served together once, years ago. Hyun-ho was skilled, ruthless, and smart. The voice continued. We will pay you. 2 million credits. Enough to buy your freedom, start a new life anywhere you want. You can leave this dead planet. Live well. All you have to do is walk away. Tae-hyun looked at the 5 dragons. They were gathered around him now, sensing danger. Bright Eye's multiple eyes glowed with fear. Stoneheart stood in front of the smaller ones, trying to protect them. He picked up his communication device and crushed it under his boot. His answer was clear. The first attack came at dawn. Combat drones, 30 of them, flying in formation toward the canyon. Tae-hyun watched them approach on his sensors. He waited until they were close enough. Now, he said to himself, and pressed the trigger. The EMP charges exploded. Electromagnetic pulse waves swept through the air. 15 drones fell immediately, their systems fried. The others scattered, confused. Tae-hyun fired his rifle, picking off the remaining drones one by one. His old training came back. Breathe, aim, fire. Breathe, aim, fire. Within minutes, the sky was clear, but he knew this was just the beginning. The second wave came an hour later. More drones, but also something new. The dragons suddenly cried out in pain. They fell to the ground, shaking. Tae-hyun felt it too, like sharp needles in his brain, neural disruptors, weapons designed to attack telepathic species. Yunho was smart. He knew the dragons were telepathic. He was using that against them. Tae-hyun grabbed a metal plate and placed it over Emberglow. The metal blocked some of the signal. He shouted at the other dragons, pointing at the metal debris scattered around the canyon. Hide behind the metal. Now. The dragons understood. They scrambled behind metal walls and equipment. The pain lessened. Tae-hyun found the drone carrying the neural disruptor and shot it down. The pain stopped completely. Something changed in the dragons that day. They stopped being scared babies. They became fighters. Stormcaller discovered it could create electromagnetic pulses from its body, small ones but strong enough to disable drones that came too close. Silent Wing learned to bend light around itself, becoming almost invisible. Stoneheart's scales hardened until laser weapons barely scratched them. They were growing, learning, adapting. The attacks continued for 3 days. Waves of drones, explosive missiles, poison gas that Tae-hyun had to neutralize with chemical filters. Yoon-ho threw everything at them. Tae-hyun barely slept. He fought until his arms felt like lead. He set traps, triggered explosions, fired weapons until the barrels glowed hot. His body was covered in cuts and burns. One leg hurt so badly he could barely walk, but he did not give up. The dragons stayed close to him. When he was too tired to stand, they surrounded him, sharing their warmth. When he was hurt, Emberglow would press against his wounds and he felt the pain lessen. Their telepathic connection grew stronger. He could feel their determination matching his own. On the third night, during a brief pause in the fighting, Bright Eye approached him. The dragon looked at him with those strange multiple eyes. Then Tae-hyun felt something in his mind. Not words exactly, but meaning. Why fight? Why protect us? You could leave. You could live. Tae-hyun touched the dragon's head gently. Because someone has to, he said. Because you matter. Because leaving you would be the same as firing on that refugee ship. I would not be able to live with myself. The dragon tilted its head, trying to understand. I failed my principles once, Tae-hyun continued. Or maybe I did not fail them. I do not know anymore. But I know this. If I let them hurt you, I will have failed everything I believe in, do you understand? All 5 dragons gathered around him. He felt their emotions wash over him. Gratitude, love, determination. They would fight beside him. They would not let him face this alone. Tae-hyun felt tears on his face. He did not remember the last time he cried. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for giving me a reason." The dragons pressed closer, and he felt warmth spreading through his chest. They were sharing their life energy with him, healing his wounds, giving him strength. The pain in his leg faded. The burns on his arms cooled. He felt younger, stronger, but he knew it would not last. Yunho was just testing him so far. The real attack would come soon. On the fourth day, Taehyun's sensors detected movement. Not drones this time. Ground troops. 40 soldiers in combat armor carrying heavy weapons. Behind them came war machines. Mechs, 3 meters tall, armed with plasma cannons and missile launchers. Yunho was done playing. This was the real assault. Taehyun checked his ammunition. 3 magazines left, 4 explosive charges, 1 EMP grenade. Not enough. Not nearly enough. He looked at the dragons. They were bigger now than when he first found them. Stronger. But still not fully grown. Still vulnerable. They could not win this fight, but they could survive it. Taehyun had one last plan. A desperate plan. He would lure the mercenaries deep into the canyon. Then he would collapse the entrance, sealing the dragons inside where they would be safe. The mercenaries would be trapped with him. He would take as many down as he could before the end. He explained it to the dragons telepathically, showing them images. They had to stay hidden in the deepest part of the nest. No matter what happened. No matter what they heard. They had to stay hidden until their mother came. The dragons resisted. They wanted to fight beside him. But Taehyun was firm. "This is not your fight anymore," he told them. "Your fight is to survive, to grow strong, to remember." Emberglow made a heartbroken sound. The small dragon knew what Taehyun was planning. It knew he would not survive. Taehyun knelt down and held the dragon close. "Live," he said softly. "Live and remember that humans can be good, that some of us try, that some of us care." The soldiers entered the canyon. Taehyun stood up, picked up his rifle, and walked toward them. Behind him, the 5 dragons retreated into the deepest shadows, their glowing eyes watching him go. Time for the last stand. The soldiers moved carefully through the canyon. Their armor glowed with power. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. 40 trained killers against 1 tired, wounded man. Taehyun was ready. He waited behind a large rock, controlling his breathing. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. This was familiar ground. He was a soldier again. One last time. The first soldier passed his position. Taehyun moved fast, a knife to the weak point in the armor. The soldier fell without a sound. Taehyun took his weapon and disappeared back into the shadows. 1 down, 39 to go. He triggered the first trap. Rocks fell from above, crushing 3 soldiers. He fired from a hidden position, taking down 2 more before they spotted him. He ran, leading them deeper into the canyon. The mercenaries fired back. Plasma bolts exploded around him. One hit his shoulder. Pain shot through his body like fire. He stumbled but kept running. More traps. More explosions. The canyon became a chaos of fire and smoke. Taehyun moved through it like a ghost. Appearing and disappearing, striking and vanishing. The mercenaries were getting frustrated, confused, afraid. Good. Fear made people make mistakes. A war mech spotted him. The massive machine raised its plasma cannon. Taehyun dove behind cover as the blast tore through the rock. He threw his last EMP grenade. The mech system sparked and died. 2 soldiers ran to help their disabled machine. Taehyun shot them both. His body was failing. Blood ran down his arm from the plasma burn. His leg hurt again, worse than before. His vision blurred. But he kept fighting. Then he heard a voice. Loud, amplified, echoing through the canyon. "Enough, Taehyun. This is foolish." Baek Yunho walked into the canyon, flanked by armed guards. He wore expensive armor and carried a custom rifle. He looked confident. Relaxed. Like this was just a minor inconvenience. "You killed 20 of my men," Yunho said. "Impressive, but pointless. We have reinforcements, more weapons, more soldiers. You cannot win this." Taehyun stepped out from cover, rifle raised. He was tired, so tired, but he stood straight, facing his old comrade. "I do not need to win," Taehyun said. I just need to stop you, Yunho laughed. Stop me, look at yourself. You can barely stand. This is over. Tell me where the dragons are hiding and I will make your death quick. Painless, Taehyun smiled. It was not a nice smile. You want them? You will have to go through every last human in the galaxy first. One of the drones that fell earlier, the one with the recording device, captured these words. This moment, this defiance. The footage would later spread across human space, becoming legendary. But Taehyun did not know that. He did not care about legends. He only cared about 5 young dragons hiding in the dark, trusting him to keep them safe. Yunho's expression hardened. So be it, he said, and raised his rifle. Everything happened fast. Taehyun fired first. Yunho's shield absorbed the shot. The mercenaries opened fire. Taehyun ran, dodging, moving toward his final position. A plasma bolt hit his side. He fell. Another hit his leg. He crawled forward, dragging himself toward the detonator. Pain everywhere. Blood everywhere. His vision going dark, almost there. Just a few more meters. Yunho walked toward him, weapon raised. Behind him, the rest of the mercenaries entered the canyon. All of them. He wanted them all to see Taehyun die, to see what happened to people who defied him. Taehyun reached the detonator. His hand closed around it. He looked up at Yunho and smiled one last time. For them, he whispered. He pressed the button. The explosion was massive. Every charge he had placed over the past days went off at once. The canyon walls shook. Rock cracked. Tons of stone fell from above. The mercenaries screamed. They tried to run, too late. The canyon collapsed on them, burying soldiers and machines under thousands of tons of rock. The entrance sealed completely. Anyone inside was trapped. Taehyun felt the rocks fall on him. Heavy. So heavy. He could not breathe. Could not move. Darkness closed in, but he had done it. The dragons were safe, sealed in the deepest part of the nest, protected by tons of rock. The mercenaries were dead or dying. No one would hurt the young ones now. He felt movement near him. Somehow through the rocks, the 5 dragons had found him. They pushed stones aside with desperate strength. They pulled him free, dragging him deeper into the nest. No, Taehyun tried to say. Stay hidden, stay safe, but they did not listen. They surrounded him, pressing their warm bodies against his broken one. He felt them trying to share their life energy again. But this time it was not enough. The damage was too great. Ember glow laid its head on his chest. The small dragon was crying, making sounds of pure grief. The others joined in, a heartbreaking song that echoed through the sealed nest. Taehyun tried to lift his hand to comfort them. His fingers barely moved. It is okay, he said through their telepathic link. You are safe now. That is all that matters. Bright Eye pressed against his hand. Stoneheart touched his face gently with a claw. Stormcaller made a sound that was almost human, a sob of loss. Silent Wing, always so quiet, cried out loud. Listen to me, Taehyun sent to them using his last strength. Your mother will come. Wait for her. Grow strong. See the galaxy. Live long lives. And remember, he struggled to form the thought. Remember that not all humans are bad. Some of us try. Some of us care. Some of us would give everything to protect those who need protection. Remember that, please. The dragons sent waves of love and gratitude back to him. They would remember. They would never forget. Taehyun felt peace. For the first time since his exile, maybe for the first time in his life, he felt truly at peace. He had done something good, something that mattered.
He had saved 5 innocent lives.
That was enough. His eyes closed. His breathing stopped. The last thing he felt was the warmth of the dragons around him, their presence in his mind, their love wrapping around his fading consciousness like a blanket. Kim Taehyun died with a smile on his face. The 5 dragons stayed with his body, refusing to leave. They used their powers to preserve him, keeping him in a kind of stasis. They would not let him decay, would not let him be forgotten. Outside the sealed canyon, a few mercenaries had survived. They stumbled to their ships, broken and terrified. They left the system as fast as they could, spreading stories about the insane human who chose death over surrender. Dayun arrived 3 days later for her supply drop. She found devastation, destroyed ships in orbit. The canyon entrance collapsed. Signs of a massive battle everywhere. She searched through the wreckage and found the recording device from one of the drones. She watched the footage, all of it. Taehyun fighting impossible odds, his defiant words, his final sacrifice. Tears ran down her face. She had known him, not well but enough. She knew he was a good man who made a hard choice and paid for it. And now she knew he died a hero. Dalian uploaded the footage to every network she could reach. Then she left the system quickly before anyone could stop her. The footage spread like fire through human space. Billions watched. They saw one man stand against dozens. They heard his words. They saw him give everything to protect creatures he barely knew. People were angry. How could they exile someone like that? How could they punish him for doing the right thing? The government faced massive protests, calls for justice, demands for change, but more than anger, people felt pride. Humanity had produced this man, this warrior who chose honor over survival, this protector who gave his life for beings different from himself. Alien species across the galaxy took notice. The young, aggressive humans everyone dismissed and feared, they could produce individuals of such remarkable courage and morality. Inside the sealed nest, the 5 dragons huddled around Taehyun's preserved body. They waited. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. They grew stronger, bigger, more powerful. But they never forgot the human who died protecting them, and they waited for their mother to return. 6 months passed. The sealed canyon remained quiet. Inside, the 5 dragons grew. They were now twice the size they had been when Taehyun died. Their scales shone brighter. Their eyes glowed with intelligence and power. They never left Taehyun's side. They took turns keeping watch over his preserved body. They shared memories of him with each other, keeping every moment alive in their minds. Then one day they felt something. A presence approaching, massive, ancient, powerful beyond measure. Mother Korvalesh descended from the sky like a falling star. She was enormous, 5 times larger than her children would ever grow. Her scales were deep purple and silver, catching the light like metal. Her wings could cover a building. Her presence radiated power that made the air itself tremble. She landed near the collapsed canyon and instantly knew something was wrong. The maturation site should have been pristine, untouched. Instead, she saw destruction, battle scars, death. Her children called to her from inside the sealed nest. She heard their voices in her mind, felt their urgency. With a gesture, she reached out with her power. The tons of rock blocking the entrance simply moved aside, floating in the air as if weightless. Korvalesh entered the nest. Her 5 children rushed to her, pressing against her, seeking comfort. She wrapped them in her wings, checking them for injuries. They were healthy, strong, more mature than they should be. What happened here? She asked them telepathically. The 5 dragons showed her. Not with words, but with memories. Complete, perfect memories. Dragons never forgot anything. They shared everything with their mother. Every moment with Taehyun from the day they hatched. Korvalesh experienced it all. She felt Taehyun's loneliness when he first found them. His hesitation, his decision to stay, his growing love for them. She felt the battle through his eyes, his determination, his pain, his final sacrifice. She felt his last thoughts. Remember that not all humans are bad. Some of us try. The ancient dragon was silent for a long time. Then she moved deeper into the nest, to where Taehyun's body lay preserved by her children's power. She looked down at the human who died protecting her young. For the first time in 3,000 years, Korvalesh wept. Tears of liquid light fell from her eyes, splashing on the stone around Taehyun. In dragon culture, certain actions were sacred. Protecting another's offspring, especially at the cost of one's own life, was the highest form of honor. It created a debt that could never truly be repaid, a bond that transcended death itself. This human, this exile, this warrior had given her children the greatest gift possible. He gave them life. He gave them safety. He gave them love. Korvalesh touched Taehyun's face gently with one claw. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you, brave one." She turned to her children. "Tell me everything about him. I want to know this human who saved you," they told her. Not just the big moments, but the small ones. How he named them. How he taught them to hunt. How he laughed when they played. How he stayed up all night when Stormcaller was sick. How he always made sure Emberglow felt safe. Korvalesh absorbed every detail. This human was special. Not because he was powerful or important, but because he was good. Truly good. He chose honor over survival. Compassion over safety. Love over fear. She made a decision. A decision that would change the galaxy. Korvalesh summoned the Dragon Conclave. It was a gathering that happened once every 1,000 years. Dragons from across the galaxy received her call and came. They appeared as pillars of light, hundreds of ancient beings converging on one point. The conclave met in a space beyond normal reality, a place where only dragons could exist. Korvalesh stood before the assembled elders and presented Taehyun's story. She showed them everything her children showed her. The ancient dragons watched in silence. When the memories ended, they discussed among themselves. Dragons rarely involved themselves with younger species. They maintained neutrality. They stayed apart. This was their way for millions of years, but some rules could be bent for exceptional circumstances. One elder spoke, its voice like thunder across mountains. This human demonstrated qualities we value: honor, protection of innocence, self-sacrifice. These are the foundations of civilization. Another agreed. He died protecting our young. By our oldest laws, this creates a bond, a debt, but he was only one human, a third elder argued. How do we know his species shares these values? They are young, violent, unpredictable. Korvalesh stepped forward. Then we test them. We extend an offer to humanity: access to our trade routes, formal recognition, a place among the elder species. But with a condition: they must prove this human's actions represent their true nature, not an exception. The conclave debated for hours. Finally, they reached consensus, unanimous, something that rarely happened. The decree was made. Kim Taehyun would be honored as the first non-dragon guardian of the nest. His name would be recorded in dragon history forever. And humanity would receive an offer that could transform their place in the galaxy. But they had to earn it. Korvalesh returned to Cairo 7. She looked at the barren planet and decided to transform it. Using dragon power, ancient technology that seemed like magic to other species, she reshaped the canyon. Crystals grew from the rock, forming shapes that told a story. A human standing before 5 dragons. A warrior making his last stand. The crystals glowed with inner light, visible from space, beautiful and eternal. At the center, she created a chamber. Taehyun's body was placed there, surrounded by a stasis field that would preserve him forever. Around him, she set eternal flames that would never die, burning with dragon fire. Her 5 children would guard this place. They volunteered eagerly. They would take turns, ensuring someone was always present. They would share Taehyun's story with anyone who came to visit. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. Dragons had built a monument. For a human, this was unprecedented, shocking, incredible. The first ships arrived within weeks. Humans wanting to see the hero their people produced, but also other species curious about the human who earned dragon respect. They came from hundreds of worlds. Thousands of ships. Cairo 7 became a pilgrimage site. People walked through the crystal formations. They stood before Taehyun's tomb. They felt the warmth of the eternal flames, and the 5 dragons greeted them. Bright Eye, Stormcaller, Silent Wing, Stoneheart, and Emberglow. They had grown large now, powerful, but they were still kind, still remembered gentleness. Emberglow, the smallest, who had been Taehyun's favorite, would share memories with visitors telepathically. Those who experienced it said they felt overwhelming love, warmth, peace. They said they understood why Taehyun did what he did, why he gave everything, because some things were worth dying for. Some bonds transcended species, culture, even life itself. Back on Earth in the human colonies, things were changing. The government that exiled Taehyun faced massive pressure. The officer who court-martialed him was arrested and tried for war crimes. Taehyun received a full pardon, posthumous promotion to Fleet Admiral, and every honor humanity could give. But more than that, humanity began to change its values. The Terran Coalition created the Taehyun Accords, new military regulations that emphasize protection of civilians, moral courage, and honor over blind obedience. Soldiers who refused immoral orders would not be punished. They would be celebrated. No one would ever face what Taehyun faced for doing the right thing. Dayan watched all this happen. She created a foundation in Taehyun's name, helping people who showed moral courage. She told his story everywhere she went. She made sure no one forgot the exile who became a legend. And on Cairo 7, the eternal flames burned bright. The dragon stood watch. The monument glowed in the darkness. Dragons never forget warmth, and they had made sure the galaxy would never forget it either. 5 years after Taehyun's death, the galaxy was different. Humanity had changed. The access to dragon trade routes brought prosperity beyond imagination. Human colonies expanded, trade flourished, technology advanced. But more important than wealth was the change in human culture itself. Every human child learned about Taehyun in school. His story was taught alongside history's greatest heroes. Military academies studied his tactics and his ethics. His final words became famous across human space. "You want them? You will have to go through every last human in the galaxy first." It meant more than defiance. It meant standing together, protecting those who needed protection, never abandoning principles for convenience. It became humanity's unofficial motto. The 5 dragons Taehyun saved were now fully grown. Magnificent creatures of immense power, but they chose an unusual path. Instead of living separate from other species like most dragons, they became ambassadors to humanity. Bright Eye became a scholar, studying human culture and history. It lived on Earth, teaching at universities, helping humans and dragons understand each other. Students loved it. The dragon who answered questions with patience and wisdom. Stormcaller joined the human military as a tactical advisor. It helped train soldiers, teaching them dragon combat techniques. But more than that, it taught them honor, when to fight and when to show mercy. Young soldiers looked up to it with awe and respect. Silent Wing worked in intelligence and diplomacy. Its ability to move unseen made it perfect for delicate negotiations. It prevented 3 wars through quiet intervention. Governments trusted its judgment completely. Stoneheart became an advocate for interspecies law. It argued cases before galactic courts, protecting the rights of weaker species. Its physical strength was legendary, but its moral strength was even greater. Emberglow, the smallest, stayed closest to Taehyun's memory. It became a teacher, working with young beings of all species. Children loved Emberglow, the gentle dragon who shared feelings of warmth and safety, who taught them that kindness was strength, not weakness. Together they were known as Taehyun's legacy. 5 dragons who proved every day that their guardian's sacrifice meant something, that the bond between species could be real and lasting. Other species watched humanity carefully. The aggressive young species everyone feared was showing unexpected depths. Humans could be violent, yes, but they could also be loyal, compassionate, self-sacrificing. Taehyun was not an exception. He was an example of what humans could be when they chose to be their best. Trade agreements followed, defense pacts, cultural exchanges. Humanity was no longer seen as dangerous outsiders. They were becoming part of the galactic community, respected, even admired. Diane was now an old woman. She had spent years running the Taehyun Memorial Foundation. Thousands of young people received scholarships in his name, people who showed moral courage, who stood up for what was right even when it cost them. Every year on the anniversary of Taehyun's death, Da-un traveled to Cairo 7. She was not alone. Hundreds of ships made the journey. Humans, yes, but also aliens from dozens of worlds, all coming to pay respects. This year, on the 5th anniversary, Da-un walked slowly through the crystal formations. Her joints hurt. Her back was bent with age, but she made the journey anyway. She always would, as long as she could. Emberglow was waiting at the tomb, as always. The dragon was massive now, scales glowing with power. But when it saw Da-un, it lowered its head gently, greeting an old friend. "Hello, old friend," Da-un said, touching the dragon's scales. "Still keeping watch?" "Always," Emberglow replied telepathically. Always for him. Da-un stood before Taehyun's tomb. The eternal flames danced around his preserved form. He looked peaceful, like he was sleeping, like he might wake up any moment and ask what all the fuss was about. "You did it," she whispered. "You changed everything. I hope you know that. I hope wherever you are, you know what your sacrifice meant." A presence appeared beside her. Massive, ancient, overwhelming. Corvalesh had arrived. The dragon matriarch rarely attended these ceremonies, but today she made an exception. Da-un bowed respectfully. The great dragon lowered her head, bringing her eyes level with the old woman. "You were his friend," Corvalesh said. Her voice resonated in Da-un's mind like music. "Thank you for that. He needed a friend." "I wish I had been a better one," Da-un replied, tears in her eyes. "I should have visited more, talked to him more. Maybe he would not have felt so alone." "He was not alone at the end," Corvalesh said gently. "My children loved him. He knew that. He died knowing he mattered. That is more than many can say." Da-un nodded, unable to speak. The dragon matriarch touched her shoulder gently with one claw, a gesture of comfort, of shared grief. Around them, beings from across the galaxy gathered for the ceremony, representatives from over 100 species. They came to honor a human who died for dragons, who showed that courage and love could bridge any divide. The ceremony was simple but powerful. Each species representative placed a crystal at the tomb's base, crystals that would grow and become part of the monument, adding their respect to the eternal memorial. When it ended, people stayed. They talked quietly, shared stories, made new friendships. This place had become more than a tomb. It was a symbol, a reminder of what was possible when beings chose compassion over fear. Somewhere far away, on a human colony at the edge of explored space, a young soldier faced a difficult choice. Her commander ordered her to fire on a transport ship suspected of smuggling. But her sensors showed families aboard, civilians, innocents. She thought about Tai Hyun, about the choice he made, about the cost he paid, about the legacy he left. She refused the order. Her commander was furious. He threatened court-martial, career destruction, exile, all the things Tai Hyun faced. But the soldier stood firm. She looked her commander in the eye and said simply, "I am human. This is what we do." The commander stared at her. Then slowly he lowered his weapon. He had heard that phrase before. Every human had. It came from Tai Hyun's story, from the culture that grew from his sacrifice. The commander investigated more carefully, found that the intelligence was wrong. The transport was exactly what it claimed to be. Refugees escaping war. Innocents who would have died if the soldier had followed orders. The soldier was not punished. She was promoted, given a medal for moral courage, the Taehyun Award, named after the warrior who showed humanity what real honor meant. On Cairo 7, Ember Glow suddenly raised its head. The dragon felt something, a moment of courage somewhere far away, a human choosing right over easy, making the same choice Taehyun made. The eternal flames burned brighter for just a moment. As if acknowledging that somewhere someone remembered. Someone chose honor. Someone proved that Taehyun's sacrifice was not in vain. Ember Glow touched the tomb gently with its head. He would be proud, the dragon thought, so very proud. Years continued to pass, decades. Taehyun's story did not fade. It grew stronger. Parents told their children. Children told their children. The warrior who died for dragons, who chose honor over survival, who showed humanity what they could be. The 5 dragons lived on as dragons did. Nearly immortal, they saw human generations come and go, but they never forgot. They kept their promise. They told his story. They honored his memory. They proved every day that his sacrifice meant something. The monument on Cairo 7 stood eternal. Ships arrived daily, pilgrims from every corner of the galaxy. They walked through the crystals. They felt the warmth of the flames. They touched the tomb and felt peace. Dragons never forgot warmth. And they made sure the galaxy never would either. In the darkness of space, the monument glowed, a beacon of light, a reminder of sacrifice, a promise that courage mattered, that honor endured, that love transcended everything. Somewhere in that light, perhaps Taehyun's spirit rested, at peace, knowing he had done something that mattered, something that would echo through eternity. The exiled warrior had died alone on a barren planet, but he became legend. He became hope. He became proof that one person, one choice, one act of courage could change everything. The stars remembered his name, and they always would. The end.